How do you hit perfect spinning net shots so that you can force your opponent to hit into the net, into the roof, or half court so you can hit it into their face? Well, in this video, we're going to teach you the 3 main types of spinning net shots, from the inside spinning, outside spinning, to the forward spinning net shot. So let's start with the most basic net shot, and that's actually the forward moving net shot. The forward net shot is the most basic and used the most often, and that's when you have momentum moving forward into the net and you just come up and use your momentum to spin the shot. So when doing this forward motion net shot, how do you think it's supposed to be done?
Like you're stabbing?
Kind of, but not correct. So a lot of you, when you're doing this forward motion net shot, you think, I'm gonna come up and I'm going to use my arm to hit this net shot. But that is incorrect, because when we have so much speed moving forward and we need to hit such a delicate shot, we cannot be adding any more variables that will make our shot jump. So our body itself and the speed coming forward is actually more than enough to hit this net shot. If you actually realize that coming up, using only your speed and not moving your arm, if you were to hit the bird is actually going to jump quite high. So how do we make the bird tighter to the net? Well, this is what I call sitting. So when we come up and we lunge, one of the things we do with our lunge is we sit into our lunge and we control not only our body, but we control our shot, okay? So if we wanted our shot to come softer, then coming up, as we lunge, we would let our racket come down a little bit so it contacts the bird softer by coming down with our entire body. Because this larger muscle group is much easier to control than a small muscle group like this. So let me show you a few net shots of what the forward running motion looks like. So when you're doing these net shots, what you're about to try, again, number 1 is we're not using our arms, we're using our legs to sit and control our whole body. Number 2, the only thing you really have to control with your hand is the racket face, okay? So if the bird is a little bit further from the net, we're gonna have to aim our racket face slightly more down because the bird needs to travel farther. But for shots that are a lot closer to the net, which you'll see in some of my demos, I'm gonna have to aim it slightly more up, okay? Because it has to hit like this and bounce upwards, and it already has forward force, so it's gonna travel forward already. But we don't wanna face too forward, otherwise it's gonna bounce too far. So that's the only thing you need to take into consideration when you're using your hands. Okay. So let's try some for you and see how it does. So one mistake that you're making is the same mistake I was saying earlier. What do you think that is?
The racket face is not facing the right way.
Okay, that's mistake number 1. What's mistake number 2? The major mistake.
I'm not using my legs?
Yes, you're not using your body, you're using your arm. What you're doing right now is you're running up, standing, and then hitting with your arm. You're trying to do this with your arm. So you see, your birds, sometimes they bounce really high, sometimes they bounce not far enough. It's very inconsistent. So we really need to be thinking that when we're hitting net shots, forward net shots, we are using our body to hit. You see, if I were to use my body to hit like this, you see how little variance there is? It's very consistent. It's always gonna be like this. If I'm using my arm, there's so many directions that it can move, leading to inconsistency. So you really need to think about when I'm coming up, I'm not standing and then hitting. I'm always using my body to hit, okay? My arm is not moving. So that's number 1. Second is your racket head. You'll see that your racket head was actually facing inside a little bit. So that you weren't really hitting forward. You were hitting at like a sort of wrap loop, which also causes inconsistencies because 1, you're hitting sometimes slightly the feather. Second is the shuttle head, if it ever comes in this opposite direction, then it's not gonna contact your racket correctly, okay? So racket face and then using our body to hit the net shot. So now that we know how to hit our forward hitting net shots, you might be wondering, how do we do this on the backhand side? Well, it's actually the exact same thing. Same concepts, forward, using your hands, but you're changing grip. Now, we're assuming you know how to do forehand and backhand grips. If you don't know how to do those grips, then watch our grip video. Now that we know how to do our forward net, which again is gonna be the most common net shot, our second most common net shot in the spinning net, what do you think that is?
Moving right to left.
And that's gonna be the inside spin. So how do we hit these inside spinning net shots? Well, it's exactly as you imagine. It goes out to in. But there's one super important thing about hitting this net shot. What do you think that is?
Getting enough spin.
And how do you get spin?
Quick motion.
Well, let's break down what spin on a birdie is. So let's see how you understand the physics of badminton. How do you think spin is created on the shuttlecock in this type of shot on your racket head? How do you create spin on the contact?
The contact this way and you're slicing. You're cutting the bird so it tumbles out this way. So you're kind of making the feathers turn upside down.
Right.
When you hit
But
it.
if you say it like that, then why would I not just keep my racket face completely flat so it can slice even more?
Because that's a very hard shot to do compared to being able to just kind of swoop it underneath it. At least you have a little bit more surface area to contact compared to just a regular cut like this. It's very easy to
Right, exactly. So the reason that our spinning net shots are never just sideways and more of a wraparound, and it's gonna be very similar to our other like drop shots as well, right? Our slice shots, our reverse slice, they are all wraparounds. That's because if you ever hit a shot like this, you have no consistency. It's really easy to rim, it's really easy to just skim and hit it. That's why wraparounds in badminton are super important. We always have to make sure we contact the bird first. And when the bird is on our racket, then we start guiding it in a motion to let it spin, okay? So this is a consistency thing. Second is just our strings actually don't have much grip. If you were to ever slice it just like this, nothing's gonna happen. The bird won't even spin that much. So what we need to do is imagine that we're actually coming in and we're holding the bird and we're manually spinning it like this. We're not just chopping the bird. If we chop the bird, it doesn't actually spin, right?
Yeah.
We have to hold it and then spin, and that's what we're doing. We're coming in with our racket, we're holding it, and then we're spinning it. There's actually one super good drill to get the feel of this before you hit the net shot, and that's the pick up the bird drill. So let's try this out. We're gonna drop a bird on the floor. You'll see that pick up the bird drills is actually the exact same thing as hitting an inside net shot. Because why? You have to first scoop it so you get enough speed onto your racket, and then you turn it so you pick it up. The only difference here is that there's no contact with the bird, which doesn't make it go over. So let's try. We come onto a bird and scoop it up. Beautiful. Come onto our bird and we scoop it up. So there's one thing I want them to focus on when they're doing this drill is that when they're scooping it up, they're not throwing it into the air. Because throwing it into the air means they're not fully controlled on the scoop up. So it's gonna be scoop up and then stay on the racket. So let me demonstrate what that looks like hitting the actual shot. You see in this shot, it's different from the other shot where I'm not using my leg anymore to net, right? I'm just coming up and I'm using my fingers, my wrist, and my hand. So the good thing about this net shot is if you can ever get these net shots, it's pretty much a KO. Because if you hit that, they either have to hit it super high or if they're not good enough, they're gonna hit into the net or just hit it half court. So hitting these shots are KO shots, but it's not easy to hit these shots. Not just that, the fact that you have to control them, but second is you don't have the opportunity to hit these shots because in order for these shots to come, they have to be very slow, loopy net shots, which you can come up to the net, stand, and then hit. Because for this, if you have any speed moving forward, you're not gonna be able to spin it because then you're gonna have speed from every direction, right? Sideways, forward, downwards, and you're not gonna be able to hit it. So this is more of a standing one where it is slow, you get that opportunity to come up and you net. So you wanna try? And let's see if you can do it.
Yeah, let's do it. When do I use the inside spinning net shot and when do I use the outside one?
Okay, well before we were gonna get to the outside, I was gonna say you almost never use the outside spinning net shot.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so the main 3 net shots I would say you would have to use. Number 1, the most used net shot is the block shot. The second most common is the forward net shot because you're always moving at speed and you're not gonna get a chance to hit these ones. These ones are when you're moving more slower, someone maybe hits a recovery shot very slow.
Yeah.
Or maybe they hit a really bad drop shot and you come up and you're pretty much in position and you don't have a lot of momentum hitting forward and it's tight to the net, then you can control the shot. Why is the inside spinning net shot always more preferable than the outside spinning net shot? Well, just think about it. First, the inside, we can wrap around very effectively. Imagine on the outside, we have to position our hand like this to wrap around, right? There's actually less wraparound. And a lot of the times, we're actually facing, if you look forward, when we're at a 45-degree angle, all of these 45-degree angles need to be hit in. It's only when it's past this 45-degree that we need to hit out. Why? Because when it's too far to the side, we actually can't hit in because our arm is too extended, right? So we are only able to hit out. And the opposite can be said, when it's too close, we actually can't hit out because hitting out requires us to extend our arm and hitting in requires us to contract our arm. So the majority of the time it's going to be inside net shots. Why? Because the majority of the time, the bird is always going to be in front of us. If it's in the middle, inside. Slightly to the right, inside. It's when it starts getting to this point, where it gets to over here to your side, you see if the net's facing forward towards the camera, I cannot hit inside from this angle, right? Because there's no forward. If I hit inside like this, it's just gonna go up and not go far enough. So when it's over here, this is when we need to start hitting outside. Because our arms are already extended, we cannot contract back in, so hit outside. So really the only time you ever hit an outside spinning net shot is when you cannot hit it inside the shot. When it's too far from your reach and you cannot contract back in anymore, so that you have to do an extension shot. And the other thing is that the outside shot is actually very similar to just the forward shot. And most of the times where you can't reach, you would probably just be running up and hitting a forward shot already. You would never be standing still and out of reach and then hitting a controlled outer shot. It's more also when you're just playing around at the net. If you're both like playing like just net shots, so very rarely used, and I wouldn't even recommend practicing that shot. But we're gonna show you how to do it. So from my demo, another thing that you can see compared to the inside is inside shots pretty much spin and then come down. But outside shots always have to go up, right? It always does a little bit of a loop. The only time we use this is if you're trying to be fancy. But for the most foundational gameplay, you guys really don't need to know how to do this. But you can give it a try.
Sure.
Nope. Nope.
So you see, you did that really bad.
Yeah, I know.
Well, one is so much arm, right? This actually requires very precise control. So I would actually recommend people not doing that.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Should we do some demos, patterns of when you actually used the shot?
Okay. Paul was recommending that we do some demos of how to use these shots, but I think that's quite confusing if you say hit these shots at certain times. Instead, I'm gonna give you a general rule of thumb on what to hit shots based on the distance. So we're gonna have three. One is tight, one is in between the service line and the net, and one is at the service line. So at the service line, if you throw to the service line, I'm always going to hit a block. You see? I cannot hit a spinning net shot from this distance. Now, if you throw in between the service line and the net, this is always going to be a coming forward spinning net shot, okay? Because here, if I block, it's going to go way too far. Also, I have no time to react since closer. And here, if I try to spin with only my hands, then it's too far from the net and it's not going to go over. So in between there, that's always a forward spinning net shot. Now, when we come up to the net, we cannot block for sure, too close. If we come forward, we're going to step into the net. So here, it's always going to be a spinning net shot. If you guys found this video useful, please like, comment, subscribe, and consider joining our YouTube membership here to support the channel, make more videos. What did they get?
Maybe a Costco hot dog?
We're not flying to Vancouver for that. But watch this video too.